it's understandable that by limiting the competition of the common carriers, the government has to step in to control that those services can be provided to everyone in a acceptable rate. So the government will, because there's no other market power to affect the provision of those services. So the government has to design. Okay, so it has to regulate the rate, the services, of the quality of services. Etc. etc. And with the Kingsbury commitment, the Department of Justice or the U.S. government further ensure the monopoly status of the bail company. But in exchange to regulate the price, the rate of and the terms of services provided by the bail company to ensure all those telecom services could be provided to everyone at a fair rate. And then the idea of common carriers further converge into the idea of universal services. So we have talked about this before. Universal service, like service has to be provided to everyone at a acceptable rate. That means even in very remote areas, the residents there can still enjoy the services at a rate, well, in fact, lower than the cost to provide services to them. We have talked about maybe going to the mountains, going to the islands. The cost to provide those services, for example, to install or to deploy networks to those areas, the cost may be very high. And if by the market power, maybe the resident here will have to pay a lot of money. By introducing the idea of universal services, the telcos will have to provide service to people even live in those remote areas at a fair rate or almost the same rate as the people who live in the, for example, cities. But how could they do that? I mean, nowadays we are talking about. Nowadays we have like a universal service fund. Right? The fund could be provided by the government. Part of the fund could be provided by the government, or the fund should be contributed by the telcos, the several telcos who operate in those areas. That means maybe by the revenue of the shares of those companies, maybe big companies should have a big burden to contribute to the universal fund. But that is nowadays. At that time, universal services, there were no such design of universal service fund. So how could a telco or a carrier in the United States. How could a carrier in the United States provide universal services? Well, if it was through a mechanism called cross-subsidy. Let's take bail system, for example. Well, the idea of the so-called cross-subsidy is very simple. It's just to use the money of me, but from elsewhere. Suppose bail company has the burden, has the obligation to provide services at a small island, let's call it Bail Island. But the cost to provide all those services to Bail Island is very high. So if by that cost, the resident at that island could not use the telecom services, but because of the obligation of universal services required by the government, the bail company has to provide services to the residents at the island at a fair rate. How did they do that? Because the bail company is a big company. It has a lot of business that are making money. Okay, we know if we provide services to Bail Island, we will lose money, but that's fine. We have other departments that will earn money. Let's use the money we earn there to cover the extra cost to provide service to those remote areas. So that's the basic idea of the so-called cross-subsidy. Just use the money made by other departments within the group to cover all those areas. And well, that was something about universal services and the development of the common carrier idea. But anyhow, let's go back to the Kingsbury Commitment. So after the Kingsbury Commitment, the government somehow ensure or sustain the monopoly status of the bail company in exchange that the telecom services provided by the bail company should be of public interest in such as an affordable rate to everywhere, not just there, but okay. But again, in exchange to that, bail companies' monopoly status was sustained. Sorry. And then, so along that time, because the AT&T, the bail company's monopoly status was sustained, it became even bigger. It grows bigger and bigger. And I think around 1990,